A common joke that I've seen that I've also made in the past is that men cannot write women. There's definitely some truth to that, considering all of the her boobs bounced boobily going on. I don't know how they give the breasts sentience, but they manage to do it. I think that sentiment reigns true in a lot of cases, but whenever I am unfortunately stumbling across a dark romance book talk. Whenever I send them to the group chat, my one friend's immediate response is, maybe women can't write men either. It makes me laugh every time because, especially in, the dark romance circles, there's a lot of cringe. Do these books sell? They must. How is this like 2012 core One Direction fanfic getting published? I'm sorry, you paid for that instead of just going to Wattpad and searching Mafia? As the boomers would say, this is why you can't afford a house, because you're spending money on these books when you could have just gone to a free fanfiction website and found the exact same thing. But anyways, now that I've seen it, I think you need to see it too, because I can't be the only one that suffered. I'll probably trigger warning at the beginning of this video, and this video is not getting monetized, but there's going to be like explicit sex stuff discussed, and like half of it's rape. So like, take care of yourself. If you can't handle that, then don't watch the video. And some of these aren't necessarily dark romance, but just romance novels that I just thought that the scenario was cringe and that the man was written particularly cringe. Suffer with me. This one made me cry. Actual audible laughing. I'm sure my upstairs neighbor heard me. Incorporating your jealousy and possession kink by using the craft store Michaels. I almost cried. I'm about to cry again. That is the funniest shit. Hey, boyfie, I'm going to Michael's. Who the fuck is Michael? And he's just coping and seething in the background. That shit's so fucking funny. If you're a romance girly and you read that, there's no way you can take that seriously, right? Like, please tell me that, like, nobody was like, wow, my jealousy kink, that's so hot. Oh, book talk, never change. Or please change rapidly. We need to choose one of the two. Are you fucking for real right now? Maybe I don't get it. Or maybe I'm not super experienced in the world of gynecology. Something tells me that most women do not find a pap smear very sexy. Like, I'm sure going to the gynecologist in general is a very distressing experience. Getting a pap smear and then turning it somehow into a sexual thing with a male gynecologist, I can't see how how you find this sexy. Do any of you have gynecologist kinks? I need to know if this is applicable to literally anyone. So we're doing the boy that bullies you on the playground because he has a crush on you thing, but we're putting it into a romance book. This is why I don't think you guys can write heterosexual enemies to lovers, because it doesn't ever end up actually being like a enemies to lovers trope. It ends up being like an abuse story, which is very different, by the way. So we're doing the being mean is flirting thing. Okay, I'm starting to understand romance book talk. This explains Colleen Hoover just as a concept. One of the things I came across when I was unfortunately and devastatingly perusing through some of these TikTok reels I found was that, especially for this very specific account, there is a very obvious breeding kink happening, except the breeding kink is actually just rape. He threw away her birth control pills. And then when she obviously expresses like some discomfort at the idea of getting pregnant because they didn't discuss that beforehand, obviously, he just kind of goes, I know. You see, gang, there's a very thin line. Actually, it's not even a thin line. I feel like there's a very obvious line between rape and a breeding kink. One of these involves consent. Also, imagine having the heterosexual ass kink of breeding. You enjoy monogamy, you enjoy breeding and the nuclear family. Get a real kink. Hi gang, what the fuck did that imply? Should I be concerned? I feel concerned. When your breeding kink turns into rape and implied violence of the most uncomfortable nature. Once again, team, what is that implying? I'm very concerned, especially because I know that getting an IUD inserted is apparently one of the most painful experiences you can have. He's just gonna rip out her IUD himself? Oh yeah, I'm sure immense pain beyond your comprehension is so unbelievably sexy. There is a difference between having a pain kink and wanting to feel like your cervix is being ripped out from the inside out. I'm gonna be entirely real with you. I don't think anybody with a uterus thinks getting an IUD inserted is sexy. Gynecology, not very sexy. When your breeding kink and your gynecology kink collide and now you are doing a bootleg IUD removal from the bedroom. This is what I mean when I say that I, send these videos to my group chat and they say women sometimes can't write men either. Is that supposed to be sexy? Let's just go into this character's shoes for a moment. You've obviously recently given birth where you're still lactating. You just pushed a whole human being out of your body. And instead of, being supportive and helpful, your significant other implies that he wants to suck on your tits like he is the baby Goo Goo Gaga. Sometimes women can't write men either, and it's when they write men wanting to suck on your tits like a baby right after you've given birth. I'm gonna be entirely honest with you, this one also made me guffaw. I was crying when I watched this video, and I need you to see it. At first I wondered if it was satire, and then I saw that in the description of the video, the account did cite a book and an author. So pushing somebody in a whale's tank to get admitted into the mental hospital is unfortunately not satire. Is this what you mean by men written by women? Men that push people into whales' tanks to get admitted into the mental hospital with you? Is this what you meant? I need to know. Yeah, but I catch another fight. The apple bottom make 'em wanna bite. I just wanna have a good night. I'm gonna put myself in the main character's shoes again. If a man looked me dead in the eyes and said the phrase, I do fuck dirty, I would laugh so hard I'd cry. I would laugh so hard he'd be so ashamed of himself he'd skip town. Are any of you reading these books and taking it seriously? Because I can't. Okay, so they've already been kind of dark-ish, but they're about to get much darker, so extra trigger warning here. See, this is where it starts to get concerning. Why are you fangirling and doing a little jig because this man who got rejected is upset that he got rejected and then burns a woman's house down? And I get it, it's fiction, doesn't need to necessarily reflect reality, but like, personally, I can't find burning my house down a particularly romantic gesture. If this book maybe were like a thriller, like a stalking thriller or something of the like, I'd be like, okay, so this is sort of like a get away from the, mafia guy, the killer sort of book. But no, this is supposed to be a romance. Maybe I'm the bad guy here, but I don't see arson as a romantic gesture. I know. Lock me up. Maybe I'm being a negative Nancy, but I think the caption "enemies to lovers" on that video really seals the deal on why I'm uncomfortable with certain dark romances being considered romance. Because this is not romance. He's essentially kidnapped her, and if there is romance eventually, it's probably trauma bonding. I think the caption "enemies to lovers" is a little bit concerning because that's not enemies to lovers, that's kidnapping to Stockholm syndrome. This is once again why I say that you motherfuckers cannot write good heterosexual enemies to lovers. It's always just abuse rather than like actual enemies to lovers. It's fiction, it is what it is, but I personally wouldn't read a dark romance in quotations about, kidnapping and essentially rape and go, enemies to lovers. It's just like how Killing Stalking is not a BL, it's a thriller and a horror novel. Maybe the same should apply to heterosexual thriller novels that involve, sort of pseudo-romance that you can only get from Stockholm Syndrome. And that's my other issue with some of these dark romance novels, is that the porn in them is very much non-consensual. They essentially paint certain like rapey, actually abusive practices as BDSM practices, when that's very much not the case. And 50 Shades of Grey is the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to that. Very clearly, like, a choking kink was not discussed between the two characters, and she's like, hey, yo, I can't breathe, and he's like, lol, fucking die then. As the video gets further, it gets worse and worse. We started with a jealousy kink because the girl wanted to go to Michael's craft store, and now we're doing non-consensual choking. So we've come a long way in however many minutes the video is. A long way in the wrong direction. Maybe it's just some of the romance and dark romance girlies, but every once in a while, I don't think women can write men either. All I've learned from this is that you don't actually have to be good at writing to sell books. You just have to make terrible TikToks about your terrible books, and then take all of the skills you learned from 2012 Wattpad and apply them to the books that you're about to actually publish.